Good evening and Faversham to everybody. Hope y'all are having a wonderful Monday like we are. Before we get started, as normal, the views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are not necessarily those of the SCV, nor any division, brigade, camps, or other subsidiaries, just those of us who are watching them. If this is your first time tuning in to SCV Chat, on the final Monday of the month, we have our executive director of the SCV, Adam Southern. He comes on, he talks about our Hearth and Home, historic Elm Springs, where there's the National Confederate Museum on the Southern Heritage or Culture, I can't remember, campus.
Very good. Southern Heritage Center.
Center, yes. Hope everybody's having a good night. Seeing a lot of folks rolling in as we're getting started. Adam, how are things at headquarters?
Good.
Well,
Had a busy
good.
August.
Good. Dues rolling in good?
Well, they better be. 2 days left or 3 days left, and we had to start charging that nasty little $5 fee for delinquents. So you still have a few days. If you have not paid your dues, call National and get those paid so you don't have delinquent fees.
Yeah, camp adjutants, remember, you can pay your dues online through Salesforce, correct?
Correct.
So at least get your membership, get them paid up. Our membership is how we were able to do our budget and everything like that. So definitely do that. One thing I really wanted to bring up, as y'all may know, we've got us a little thing churning in the Gulf. It's a tropical storm, possibly going to be a Cat 3. I saw earlier when it hits Florida. Guys, we do have our disaster relief fund. It's right here, SCV Relief Fund. Actually, a picture of Beauvoir after Katrina. You can go on scv.org, hit the button at the top that says Donate Now. It's a way for y'all to be able to help your brothers in need when they're in need. Especially with the Florida, Georgia, and potentially the Carolinas being impacted by this storm. Let's help a brother out.
I'm glad you mentioned that. It's one of the great funds that the SCV has, and it's a good way to help all of our brother SCV members.
Yeah. So that the commander-in-chief who just tuned in wanted to remind everybody about that. So we're reminding everybody about that. Also, it does more than just hurricanes and tornadoes. I remember back when we had the fires in the Smoky Mountains a couple of years, almost 10 years ago. That is hard to believe. The fund was used to help members recover from that. Definitely, everybody do keep the members because we do have several Floridians in the chat, as well as Georgians and Carolinians that will be impacted by the storms in y'all's prayers. Nothing would make me happier than this thing to do a 180 and go back out into the Gulf and completely leave them alone. But that's just part of the things that there is. If you do need help, do contact your Army councilman. Army Commander Jimmy Hill's saying that. So, yeah. But anyway, headquarters has had a very interesting past couple of days, Adam. Looks like from the pictures, and you've got us a lot to cover. So you want to just jump into it and talk about the event? Or you want to talk about some of the new things on display?
Whatever you have up first.
Let's do the event because those are the things I'm closest to right now. So,
yeah, all right. Well, we had a great event just a few days ago called the Night at the Museum. We were open at nighttime, and if you ever watched the movie Night at the Museum, we tried to copy that. It was the basis of our event. The exhibits came to life. We had actors portraying some of the people that are featured in our different exhibits. That's our Commander-in-Chief, Jason Boshears, playing an artilleryman. So it's the first thing you see walking into the museum as a mountain howitzer. I was letting people know how cannons were loaded and how they were used in battle. So I thought that was and plus they got to meet our Commander-in-Chief first thing when they walked through the museum doors.
Little fun fact, Jason can actually pick that mountain howitzer up and carry it on his back.
He can, yeah. I've actually seen him do it. Uh, just a couple of people that were there that night. Of course, one on the left is Commander Jimmy Hill, Army of Tennessee commander. So glad to have him there. He's a big friend of our museums, and um, he and Robert Julson have always been big helps every time they come up to the museum. And glad to see Jimmy Hill there at the event that night. Kayla, my lovely bride, is on the left. She was playing Antoinette Polk, and Spence Culberson, one of our volunteers, he was playing Nathaniel Chairs. We had Jack Rigg there. He was playing Sam Watkins, and he's standing next to our Sam Watkins display. Sam Watkins, of course, was the author of Company H.
It's a very good-looking kit he's got.
Yeah, it is. And most everybody knows Rich Garcia, but there he is playing one of our Tejano soldiers. So he's standing next to the diversity in the Confederate Army section, and he's talking about the life. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who exactly he portrayed, but Rich, if you're in the chat, you can
probably
tell
Colonel Benavides.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe you're right. And then his lovely bride was playing Mrs. Colonel. And there she is there. So, and of course, there's just more people going through the museum. Some folks talking to Kayla about the Antoinette Polk flag behind her that was captured by Forrest from the Strait. But it was a good event. A lot of people who hadn't been to the museum before came through. We had people from 4 different states there present, and over 100 people. So, very successful event. It's something I hope we can start doing year round, make that an annual event, and hopefully it will grow larger. I never made it over to the house. I was selling tickets in the gift shop, so I never made it over to Elm Springs, but it was open as well. We had the third great grandson of Colonel Looney, who was, of course, the owner of Elm Springs. He was in the house giving tours as Colonel Looney. And we had Mandy Hill portraying his wife, talking about the Yankees burning the house and presenting General Armstrong with the decanter. And other volunteers were there, too. So it was a great event. And, of course, we couldn't do it without our volunteers that helped us. So very thankful for them and thankful for everybody that came out that night.
So, roughly, you may have said, you may cut out. Roughly, how many folks did we have come through?
We had 100 folks there. No, over 100 if you count our volunteers.
Well, that's good. That is. Well, that's good for an inaugural event.
Oh, absolutely.
That's very, very, very good for an inaugural event. So good. All right. Jason, or Commander in Chief Bashir, says that y'all were steady for 3 hours, which is good. That people were walking around and interested in stuff like that. Maybe they'll go home and tell folks exactly what all they experienced. And when it rolls back around, they'll want to do it again.
I hope so. Hopefully, we can have a new lineup of actors for next year, and of course, as our exhibits change in the museum, so will the lineup for the actors. So.
All right. Well, speaking of the museum, you and I talked about this. I guess it was Friday. That we got a lot of new acquisitions in last week. So I'm just going to pick some at random. And start with these yards or street signs.
Yeah, and I think that's a very poignant artifact, especially this day and age. We're fighting to keep our artifacts and our street names and place names, and these are some street signs that recently came down. This was from Forest Hills in Middle Tennessee, and General Forest and Robert E. Lee Drive. The street signs came down, and luckily we had somebody there that was able to retrieve the signs for us. But it's a modern artifact, but it's an artifact that tells a story, and that's a story that we're trying to prevent.
Sorry, I clicked on something and it took me away for a minute. All right.
Yeah, this is a great little case. We had a collection of over 65 items come in from one person. He's a missionary that lives in Mexico most of the year. And he said, I just keep these in a safe in the States, and I would rather them be on display. So these are on a long-term loan to the museum. And I'll try to point out other artifacts that are from his collection as we go through these pictures. But those are 3 original Cappies. Of course, the one on the left is Union Cappy, but could have also been picked up by a Confederate soldier and worn. Who knows? But those are 2 original Confederate Cappies in the middle and on the right. There's a great little tintype. I wish I had gotten a closer picture of the tintype, but it's of an unidentified family, a mother and 2 children. Just gives you an idea of what a soldier would have carried with him into the field. And then on the bottom shelf there, you've got 3 original canteens, a small tin cup and fork, and a spur from West Virginia. So just some great artifacts that we can have on display to show what the Confederate soldier wore and carried into battle with him.
Yeah, that family picture would be good in the section where we talk about life on the home front.
Right.
So that'd be very good. It looks like we also got a federal breastplate there.
Right on the top shelf, a federal breastplate. So,
and then some cheese down there at the bottom.
Oh, that is actually a piece of soap. It's an original piece of soap, I'm told. So, but there's also a small can of polish and a button polisher on the bottom shelf.
Yeah, I can. You can kind of see it, and I know y'all can't see my cursor, but that slit. I'm guessing that's on the left. Yeah, it's on my left hand side. But I actually was thinking about buying one of those earlier to help, shine up some buttons on my uniform. That's pretty cool. I've never seen an original. I've only seen the reproductions. That is very cool that we've got that. All right. Now, when Moose and I were uploading these pictures, I had to ask him, Moose, what the heck is this? And he said he didn't know. So now, Adam, I'm asking you, what the heck is this?
Well, I took the picture in front of the April Straight flag because it goes along with that story. This is something that came from the General John Thorney, UDC. This is on permanent loan, and we're putting this not even on display yet, so y'all are getting a sneak peek at this artifact. The tree that General Forrest accepted the surrender of Abel Strait under. This is a gavel that was carved out of that tree. So, somebody along the lines painted up like a woodpecker. So,
and that's what I was thinking. It was some type of voodoo woodpecker doll thing, and
but it came to us described as a gavel. And I think some of the local UDC chapters used it during some of their meetings.
Okay, well that's pretty cool. I'm glad to know that you're not putting hexes out on our enemies. But speaking of Bedford Forrest, this one clearly has some type of dealing with General Forrest.
Yeah, that's a really neat piece. That came from a Columbia collector. This is actually the sword of Captain James D. Taylor. And General Forrest had 33 confirmed kills during the war. And Captain James D. Taylor was the 33rd kill of General Forrest. In the last fight in around Selma, Alabama, Captain Taylor could have killed or seriously wounded General Forrest if he had stabbed General Forrest with the sword. Instead, he slapped General Forrest with the sword, and General Forrest kind of turned around in the saddle and shot him. This sword is engraved with Captain Taylor's name, and is on a short-term loan to our museum.
Okay, that's pretty awesome because I can't read the text in the background. I'm gonna have to make a trip up to headquarters to see that. The fact that there is so much provenance with that artifact, to know that it's directly linked to Forrest and everything like that. That's pretty cool. That is very cool. I'm going to skip around to the order of pictures that I've got here because I'm seeing these, and are those what I think they are?
Original cockades, yes, secession cockades.
That is awesome. It looks like the one on the upper left-hand side with the white background. It appears to be a Mississippi one with that eagle on it.
I haven't researched them as much as I would like to. So I'm going to be working on the identifying tags tomorrow, but I wanted to put those out on display so people could see those. And it's like I was saying, when it rains, it pours. Well, it's pouring in a good way at the museum because we went from having no cockades to having 5 in one day, and then the secession, the South Carolina cockade came in a couple of days later. So now we have 6 cockades.
That is really cool, especially when you're talking about the originality or the origins of secession and stuff like that. Speaking of early war artifacts, we've got this. Now that looks to be a little bit more earlier than our war, but talk
Yeah.
about that for a second.
Oh, it's a militia hat from Virginia, and of course, it's what makes this one so unique is it's a tri-cornered hat. And if you, whenever the militias were called up and were going into state service, we all know they were wearing a variety of uniforms. Some of them embracing the Second War of Independence motif went back to tri-cornered hats like they wore in the original American Revolution. So this is an original Virginia militia tri-cornered hat, and notice the Virginia cockade there on the left-hand side. It's just a great piece. I can't pinpoint it to any one soldier. If you were able to see the right-hand side of it, it has a plume on that side.
The back corner.
You can kind of see it a little bit in the back left, kind of swings around that side. But just a great piece to be able to show what these soldiers were wearing when they went out into the field. And we have it right next to the Mississippi Militia overcoat that y'all, Mississippi Division, presented to the museum.
Yeah, and one thing, not a lot of people know this about me because I don't talk that much on chat, is that I do reenact, and one thing that you can really see a lot of personality with people, especially back in that era, are hats. So that's something very interesting. We do have several hats on display. We'll go ahead and flip through some other ones. We got this one with another cockade on it.
Another cockade and another plume. This is another Virginia piece, and this one is actually, we're able to identify the unit on it. You can see the 9. That's from the 9th Virginia Cavalry. And they wore the black hats. So the whole company was outfitted. Our regiment was with those black hats. And right underneath it, you can't see it very clearly, but that's actually an order that was written for the 9th on original station of its original paper piece. So glad to have that in the museum with that hat.
Another hat.
Yes, this hat is post-war, and it's actually a Stetson. You flip it over, it's a nice little Stetson, but it belonged to, I'm trying to find my notes here, John R. Gibbons, who was the Arkansas Division General of the UCV. And the other items that you see around there, that's his calling card that you see in the foreground. There are 2 pictures, a picture of his house, and then there's a picture of him and his wife in the dining room, along with some of their family. And in the box there on the right, that's his bow tie. So,
and why don't you wear a bow tie, Adam?
Oh, because I'm fat and I have a beard. You wouldn't be able to see it.
So am I, but I still wear them. All right. Last picture. I believe the last picture of hats before going into some other stuff.
These are some great reunion hats. You can see most of them have the UCV pins on the front of the hats. So the kepi there with what do you call those, Connor? The
hat brass. Well, which one?
The second, the red one that has the, I call it a.
Yeah, it's like a horsehair plume. I think it's the official designation.
I can't think of the official phrase right now, but it has a nice little brass pin on the front that says UCV. The black hat, of course, is the reunion version of the original hat that we saw earlier. Has the plume in it as well. And then, of course, the other one is just a kepi, but then there's a black straw hat as well. There's a picture from a Virginia reunion in the background. Just it's great to see so many items like this come in, and in one collection is almost unheard of. Uh, but
Going on, actually,
okay.
kind of looking down from that first picture,
Right, this is
or
on the
from that
second
previous
shelf in
picture.
that case. This whole collection belonged to Lieutenant John Moffett Brown, who was a direct descendant of the man who loaned these items. Uh, that's, of course, a small picture of John Moffett Brown when he was in the Confederate service. That's him in uniform. And then behind it is a picture of him as a Confederate veteran. And he's wearing several of the ribbons that you see in the display case there. You can see those also in the picture. He's wearing them on his uniform. That's his pistol that he carried through the war, and the caliber that goes with it.
Yeah. Also, it looks like it's a Southern Cross of Honor,
Right.
and then a Virginia button, and then reunion medals, and I guess that's just a button off his UCV coat, or maybe his actual uniform.
And I believe it's from his actual uniform.
Well, speaking of uniforms, we got a couple of pictures of different coats in.
Yep. This is from the Gordon collection. The Gordon family loaned us the frock. It's a post-war reunion frock that belonged to General William Osceola Gordon, and he was one of the commanding generals of the United Confederate Veterans. And we have a nice picture. You can see kind of the frame there of he and his wife.
Do we have that picture sent in or not?
It may not. I may not have sent that in, but you can see the frame in that picture there.
Yeah.
We want you to come in the museum, so we're not going to show you everything. So
Right. And then another coat. I'm guessing
this is part of the collection that belonged to the man from. Go ahead and tell you his name is Jonathan Peckham, but he's the missionary that has most of these items on loan. This is just a reunion jacket. But I believe it may be older. I think this might be. I'd like an expert in textiles to look at it. I'm good, but I'm no expert. But I would like for them to look at it and be able to determine whether or not this is an older uniform jacket. It has post-war buttons on it, but you can tell it's been altered. So I think it was probably an older jacket that was altered for the United Confederate Veterans. You can see those nice Virginia buttons.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of really quickly before we get into this. If the portion of the hat is a pom pom or
pom pom. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. A shako, for those that are arguing about saying that it's a shako, is an actual style of hat that's hard on the sides and hard on the top. That was a kepi with a pom pom on it. Boom. I should open a haberdashery.
There you go.
All right. Looking through other stuff. What we got here? Some
binoculars and wallet that both belonged to the same soldier. He was a lieutenant in the Rockbridge Artillery, which is significant because we have the wheels from the Matthew that were part of the Rockbridge Artillery.
Oh, I was about to ask about. So we have the wheels of the gun. We have the glasses that would have sighted in the gun. All we need is the gun itself. So
right, we need that barrel. Tickets. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for the right amount of money, VMI would sell
it. Well, we're Johnny Cashing it right now, one piece at a time. So,
well, speaking of Johnny Cash, I love how you're throwing these wonderful segues at me, Adam. So we have some musical instruments in.
Absolutely. This fiddle, and I assume it's a fiddle. I don't know if the soldier was classically trained or not, but I would assume he played it as a fiddle. Belonged to Joe Blankenship, who was in the 22nd Tennessee Cavalry. And that's a piece that he carried through the war with him. The wooden flute there is, I can't tie it to a certain soldier, but it does have Alabama provenance to it. This also came, this did not come as part of the Pinkham collection. It came as, the flute came from the John Forney UDC chapter. And the fiddle was donated by Joel Blankenship's descendant. So,
And yeah. And then we've got a drum with the actual strap that with the stick casings and the sticks.
right. And I don't know if these two were together all their lives, but they're a married piece now. A nice original drum that started out in France. That's where its country of origin was, but I'm sure it saw service in the war between the states. Nice drumstick holster that has Virginia markings on it, and the drumsticks just look amazing. Glad to have so many musical instruments. I don't know if you can see it in that last picture, but there was actually a jaw harp in there as well. Yeah, right before
Oh,
there's a jaw harp.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. I thought that was a piece of the drum. The reason why I love the musical instruments aspect of it is because it's so under as a descendant of like two official musicians for the Confederacy, and then like seven other brothers that were musically inclined, and that wasn't a trait that was passed on this many years down in the generation. It's cool to see that because personal items like that. And I say personal items. You can imagine sitting around a campfire and somebody bringing out that fiddle and playing, or that flute and fiddle, even though it's from two different provenances. But music. They didn't have TV back then. They didn't have SCV chat back then. So musical instruments were a source of inspiration to remind you of home and things of that nature. Speaking of home, we've got a tin type of a soldier with a drum right there.
Right. We have that displayed with the drum, and that was actually one of Jonathan Pecan's ancestors. Uh,
Oh,
he,
cool.
he was lucky enough to have several pictures of several of his ancestors, and one of them just happened to be a drummer. So he tried to collect things that he thought his ancestors might have carried. So he purchased the drum and drumsticks, of course, because they reminded him of his ancestor. He uh, put several items on loan to us that were from Virginia because most of his ancestors served in the Army in Northern Virginia, in the Stonewall Brigade, actually. So uh, we have a lot of great Army in Northern Virginia items thanks to this loan now.
Well, speaking of talking about personal items for the soldier, this is one of the most personal items that a soldier could have.
Right.
It's a housewife.
Absolutely. Yeah, called a housewife. Some people call it a soldier's wife, but just a sewing kit, everything that the soldier needed. If he needed to sew a button back on, had a little pocket knife in it. Uh, you can actually see a little ring in there too, and it was
Yeah.
carved out of a peach seed, which I thought was a kind of a unique item to be in there. I'm sure it was one of the soldier's personal items that he probably made with that pocket knife, or could
Yeah.
have anyway. But
Any provenance of where it would have came from?
no provenance with it other than it's from the time period. But any soldier anywhere could have had that, and that's what it looked like rolled up. They would
Yeah.
have it stashed away with them. So
That's one common misconception that everybody has, especially here at work when I talk about the war and things of that nature. They think that it was just battle after battle after battle. It was campaign after campaign after campaign. And they don't realize that during the winter. I mean, the campaign season was roughly from the spring to about November at the latest. So you have several months in there where you're sitting there doing nothing besides drill and wish you were at home. So there are a ton of artifacts you can find out there that are soldier made, where they take bullets and they whittle them down into chess pieces, or in that case, a peach pit or whatever peach seed, and actually making a ring out of it. That's pretty cool. Lot of artifacts that come out of the prison system, POW system, like that.
yeah,
So that's very very interesting. I think this is our last picture.
okay.
While you're talking about it, I'm going to scroll through and make sure we've seen everything.
And
But go on ahead.
this actually belonged to the same officer uh, whose glasses binocular we saw earlier, Lieutenant. I believe it was James Davis from the Rockbridge Artillery. This was his lap desk. and it still has a little ink bottle in there, and just something that he would have used in the field, right home, or uses to write his reports on. Uh, That's another personal artifact that we really don't think about these soldiers having with them. But uh, yeah, they, especially if you were an officer, you had a lot of paperwork, a lot of things that you had to do, and you would need something like this to get that done.
Yeah, that's one thing that is very is very true and prevalent and underrepresented in a lot of historical reenacting societies is the amount of paperwork that was done. There's a someone on Etsy who sells on a thumb drive. I actually have one of the thumb drives over at my desk, my other desk, that contains all the paperwork for the Confederate Army, blank forms and things like that. And that's one thing I love about Fold 3. Which does the research library have a Fold 3 account?
They do, yes.
I'm sure everybody nowadays on here knows what Fold 3 is and how to use Fold 3 because it's made things 10 times easier on researching your genealogy. But I was going through some of my ancestors' stuff, and one of my ancestors who was in the ANV and was killed at Cold Harbor had some of his uniform requisitions for his company because he was a commander of said company. Um, it had copies of his, requisitions on there. So I thought that was pretty nifty.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, you have to
so
remember the Confederacy started from scratch, so they had to create all this paperwork. And that's what amazes me is all the currency, the paperwork, the letterheads they had to crank out just to have official forms to use. And that's one thing we forget about. I mean, the federal government had these things already in place. The Confederacy had to start from scratch, basically.
heck, the federal government traveled with a printing press.
Right.
Literally traveled with a printing press. That's how they were able to make the paroles and stuff so quickly. Hey, we don't have any paroles up there, do we?
Any, I'm sorry.
Paroles, like
We have a few that were given issued to the soldiers, and we have some of their personal copies. I can think of maybe two or three that we have.
I've got sitting here in my office on my cork board for the 2015 National Reunion. It was up in Richmond, ending the sesquicentennial, of course, with the Richmond campaign. And past Commander in Chief Larry McClooney and I, we and his wife, we spent a couple of days touring through the Carolinas, and we actually stopped at Appomattox. They still had the original surrender document on display, and we cried like babies once we saw it. I mean, just absolutely wept. And it was on Bedford Forrest's birthday, weirdly enough, when we stopped there. Um, and I got a copy of the press, or it was a copy of the original on the original press from up there. But I was looking. Uh, I can't sleep at night, and I get bored sometimes during the day. So I'll send Adam these random links to. Boy, it'd be nice if we had $75,000 to buy this set of artifacts that has an original frock coat from a soldier in Missouri. Hey, I see Herb Turner from Central Missouri in here. You've got money, 70, and I also saw Daryl Maple, $75,000. You can get an original frock coat from I think it was, and it wasn't one of Loring's men, but he was a Missourian who ended up fighting for the Confederacy. It's his coat that was from later in the war, after post Vicksburg. His sash, and he actually was sent to negotiate surrender terms with William Tecumseh Sherman, and it has his original pass to get through the federal lines to go and negotiate that. But it also has this parole on there, and the parole says it refers to the Confederate States as the seceded states. Not and they do refer to them as refer to the government in rebellion, but as seceded states, which I thought was pretty interesting.
The soldier's name was Major W.F. Haynes.
Yeah. So Herb, Daryl, anybody else from Missouri watching? Y'all chip in $20 a piece. Buy this. I'll send you the link to it.
And that's a good thing to mention now. We do have a museum artifacts fund. If you want to donate to an acquisitions fund, we do have one of those up and going now. So that's something
Yes.
that.
Hey, David, obviously, this is the one from where he surrendered in North Carolina.
Yeah, the museum acquisitions fund. If you'd like to donate towards the museum being able to one day purchase collections like that as they come available, that fund's now up and going. And like I said, it's we're not going to be able to do that overnight, but as this fund grows, when a collection like that becomes available, we would have the power to purchase that if we decided to. Because once this private collector gets his hands on this whole collection, it's probably gone for another 20 or 30 years until that collector dies and then his family sells it. So,
right, no kidding. But I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, I've sent weirdly enough, Forrest Dawes, historian in chief, and I we both send each other stuff, and occasionally I'll send it to Adam just in case we have $75,000 in the bank to buy it. But
I usually prefer he doesn't send it to me because it just hurts my feelings when I can't buy it.
Hey, there have been some small items that I've sent you that you've been able to get. So
Yeah, and usually I end up buying them myself. I hope my wife's not watching that, but
if not, we'll come back in a month and you'll be whooped on. So
yeah, that's all right.
Well, what other events do we have planned up at the museum coming up? I know that fall's getting here, and hopefully cooler weather's coming with it. So hopefully we have some stuff.
Oh yeah, I hope so. I hope some cooler weather is coming, but of course, fall's always a fun time. It's a good time to come see the house. We have talked a lot about the museum, but of course, we still have Elm Springs open as well, and we're all the time looking for new antiques and artifacts for the home, especially if they were from the time period or um, if they have any connection to the Looney family. And the Looney family scattered all over the nation after the war. Some of them ended up in. I found an article today where one of the descendants changed his name to Lowney because he was becoming a psychiatrist and didn't want to be named Looney. So,
well, that makes sense.
Yeah, can you imagine going to see Dr. Looney? But
yeah.
Well, so
in today's era, that'd be perfect marketing.
Yes, it would. But when closer we get to Halloween, I'd like to do something maybe at the museum or at the house one night where we do a kind of a ghost story event and just bring people into the house and be able to share our creepy stories with them.
Ooh, no chance that I'd get. You and I are going to talk after stream about that because I'm taking some time off following the 26th of October.
Yeah.
And I need something to do on the 27th, 28th, and 29th. I think that would be kind of fun, but I'll talk to you after stream.
All right.
How are things with the Friends of the Museum and Friends of Elm Springs going?
Oh, they're going great, and of course, you get a discount off of tour admissions, and you get a discount in our gift shop too if you are a member of the Friends. And that can come to some good use because I'll tell you what, Jill has got our gift shop in good shape, and we have a lot of great things to purchase whenever you come and see us. In addition to the SCV items that she has, there's also a lot of good Elm Springs and one-of-a-kind items that you can purchase while you're there. She's worked out a deal now with a local quilt maker that's making quilts out of Civil War reproduction fabrics. And I know I use the word Civil War fabrics, but that's how these fabrics are marketed. where Civil War reproductions, but you can purchase that quilt, and it is a beautifully done quilt made out of those reproduction fabrics, and it's quilted as it would have been in the time period in a 19th century pattern. And it's just a great piece. And I think men and women alike would be able to enjoy that. And yes, there's a picture of the entrance as you come in, and I think that might have been from Robert Julson today.
It sure was. I was about to say Robert Julson was up there at headquarters today volunteering, and really we need to reinstitute the Hearth and Home award for here on SCV Chat and give that to him because he has been a tremendous volunteer up there and a good supporter of Chat. And he took that picture earlier today.
I would like to see that become a national award myself. People who give great service to Elm Springs throughout the year are eligible for the Hearth and Home Award. So,
and Robert's watching the chat. He had fun talking to all the guests today.
We're good.
Well, on Facebook, somebody said Robert was just annoying the staff. So, I mean, I'm kind of glad that he says he got to talk to the guests too. So Jan Lose asked, can you become a friend of Elm Springs without actually ever having been there? He'd love to support the museum, but he does not know when and if he'll be able to make it there.
Absolutely. I would say that most of the people who are friends of the museum or friends of Elm Springs have never actually been there. They're just people who like to support us. So there are forms. If you go to the SCV, scv.org and go to our forms and documents page, you can find all the friends information there and fill that out and become a member. And we'd love to have you as a member.
And you can also always donate to the SCV fund or the museum fund on the website as well.
Yeah,
Chuck McMichael, go ahead.
I was going to say, if you go to the donations page on our website, again, scv.org, click on donations, and it gives you several different options. One of those is donate to Elm Springs, and then, of course, there's the museum fund that you can donate to. So that's a great way to help. And, of course, remember the challenges that were issued at Reunion this year. To give $50 a month, you can set that up by going to the donations tab and clicking on donate to the museum, and you can make that a recurring payment, and it will come
maybe.
Well,
if it works,
if you're smarter than Connor, you can figure it out.
Listen, I spent all day trying to get that done, and I'm going to try again this upcoming Thursday when my paycheck hits to get that done. So.
Well, call me if you have any trouble this time, and we'll walk through it together.
Listen, this time I'm just going to call you and give you my credit card number.
And the same thing goes to anybody else on there. If you're having trouble making that donation, give us a call at HQ or give me a call, and I'll try to walk you through it the best way I can.
It's 1-800-MY-SOUTH. 1-800-MY-SOUTH. And you'll get the voice of Forrest S. Dawes on there with the directional. I think your extension number like 4.
It's been a while since I've gone through the directory, but yeah, I'm on there.
Now, whether you're at your desk, because you are a rather busy man. Miss Linda asked, what do Friends of the SCV donations go towards, Adam? Or at least the membership?
Friends of the SCV donations go to?
The membership.
Oh, yeah, that's different than Friends of the Museum or Friends of Elm Springs. So Friends of Museum goes to the museum. Of course, Friends of Elm Springs goes towards Elm Springs. And Friends of the SCV, that membership goes towards the SCV operational fund. So that goes into our operating account.
Or the one way to be involved.
Yes. Yep.
Well, speaking of Forrest S. Dawes, we have to take a quick commercial break. Tonight's commercial, just like every other commercial from this past season, have been brought to you by High Road to Emancipation and Constitutional Government by the Kennedy Twins. Folks don't know that Jefferson Davis was the leader to the high road of emancipation. He looked forward to the day which slaves could be prepared to live within and participate in society. He did more than advocate for the high road to emancipation. He led the charge for it. You can get this book at scv.org in the gift shop there, Kennedy Twins website, or visit beauvoir.org. We're going to take a very quick commercial break, and I'm going to scroll through some of the comments and see if there were any other questions in case we missed them. So we'll be right back.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
Well, as Commander-in-Chief said at 7:24 p.m., my computer time, not real time, as you can tell from the pictures, the National Confederate Museum has grown and continues to grow into a fine museum. Make plans on coming and seeing your museum too. All right, so everybody's talking about a bookcase that randomly came open during the Night at the Museum thing, and it's popped open a couple other times. What the heck, man?
Yeah, if you go into what used to be my office, and which is now the farm study, there's a bookcase in there that will come open sometimes. And I have gone in there, I have jumped up and down. You know how big I am, and I'm jumping around, and it will stay closed. But whenever it decides it wants to open, or the ghost decides it wants to open it, it opens.
Yeah, and I was about to say, it's not just you jumping around. Me, you, Moose, Forrest, and Jason were in there after GEC, the March GEC meeting, and it never came open.
Right.
Okay, that's creepy. Robert says the little boy opens it.
Somebody's doing it.
You know, if Matt was still there, I would blame it on Matt. But because I guess now I'm just gonna have to blame it on Pravetti. So
yeah, he's probably got some sort of electronic trigger on it and just hits the button. Doesn't happen to everybody, so if it happens to you while you're on tour, I guess you're special.
He's probably got a camera hidden in the, what is it, an antelope above the
That's a white-tailed deer.
Okay, so it's been a while since I've been in there. All I know, the otter got removed out of there.
Yeah.
So
Helen said too many people were touching it. It had to go back to her house.
But anyway, I could see them putting a small camera in there.
Oh, man.
Jason says it happens when he talks about Emma Sampson.
It's funny. The local camp is going going to sponsor some cleaning there at the house. They're going to hire a cleaning company to come in and clean the house a few times a year, just so it looks nice during our tours. And one of the people actually refused to give a bid on it. They said they were just so creeped out in that house that they would not come back and work. And it was just, I think, Samson. Samson was the family slave, and he's the one who was credited with taking the broom, the burning broom, out of the closet.
Oh, okay.
House. And I think he's still there. We rent out the old conference room for events, and we had a party in there not too long ago. I say not too long. It was probably last year. And there was a little boy. He was probably 3 or 4, and he kept going up to the old kitchen and talking. And then he'd run away laughing. Then he'd go back and talk some more. And his mama said, "Who are you talking to?" He said, "Talking to the man." And she said, "What man?" He said, "Oh, that big man right there." And we knew who was renting. They texted us. They said, what kind of big man would be here in here? I said, "Well, I asked what his name was." And the little boy came back and said, "Samson." And I said, "Okay." So Samson was the family slave, and evidently he still hangs out in Elm Springs, and he's still watching over the place. And I think the cleaners, when they were there, Samson was following them around, and they were just too creeped out to give us a bid.
Gives a whole new definitions to if walls could talk.
Yep, if walls could talk, that's right.
I just see Adam there with the Swiffer. What you doing? Ah! Yeah, probably
we had a bus tour come through this past weekend. We had 35 people from Pennsylvania come Saturday night, and they didn't leave until about 8 o'clock. And I said, "Kayla, do you mind going over to the house and cutting the lights off?" And it was completely dark outside. And she went and did it, but she wasn't happy about it.
This comes from the woman that zip lines over alligators.
Yeah, she shouldn't be scared of anything, but she's scared of a ghost and scared of a snake. So,
well, I see. My sister has tuned in. Hey, listen. So weekend before Halloween, road trip. Especially if y'all are doing some type of ghost tour. Just saying, some things that may trigger ghost activities are, from what I've heard, people dressed in outfits of their era walking around. So,
yeah.
So with the night of the museum thing, and maybe, I don't know, y'all giving permission for some type of living history camping situation up there. I don't know who said that. That would definitely be something cool to see.
Yeah, and it's been a while since we've had the paranormal investigators there, but whenever they were there, they would always have an active investigation. Yes, Chuck, a ghost of a snake would really, I think that would push Kayla over the edge if that happened.
You just hear, "You are not making me go back in that house." Oh, she's going to hit me the next time she sees me. Yeah. Well, it sounds like we've got a lot of great things going up at headquarters. I'm really happy to see the progress that we've made since the video that you first did. There was no museum. It was a shell of a museum. To the If Walls Could Talk, where the museum's completed and it's getting full, to the pictures that we've just gotten. Yeah. This is a world-class institution, just like we spoke about a couple weeks ago about the charge. The SCV should be the world's first stop for all things Confederate. We should be the foremost knowledgeable experts on that, on our history, on our heritage. What is our history? What is our heritage? What makes us unique? The struggles that our ancestors went through. the struggles post Reconstruction to create the UCV that created the SCV. I'm really excited to see everything everything that's going on up there.
We had a really good compliment. We had somebody that went to the Night at the Museum event, and this came to me through the grapevine. Somebody that came to that event told his aunt, "I can't believe we have a facility like that in Columbia, Tennessee." And I thought that was just the best compliment we could get because everybody that comes into the museum is blown away with our collection, blown away by the timeline, and just really the facility, because this is a first-class museum, and it's just getting better every day. And I tell everybody, we opened in 2020 with nothing, and everything that you see here is progress. And we're continuing that progress, and our museum's just getting better each and every day.
Just wait till I bring you this box of old receipt books. Get them out of the home office and get them up to y'all.
There you go.
Because God knows I need to get them out of my office bad. Very, very bad. So anyway, guys, hope y'all have enjoyed this episode of SCV Chat, our Hearth and Home edition. I can't wait to see what progress we have within the next month. It's going to be really, I'm looking for, you've set the bar really high, Adam. You got to match this next month. Really looking forward to the next dessert party, because whenever that happens, I'm guessing that'll be around Valentine's Day.
Yep, usually in February.
Well, shoot, I won't be able to make it because of work. But anyway, a lot of great things going on at your headquarters, your museum, things like that. Guys, remember to get your dues in. Get them in. If you don't think your camp adjutant has, call your camp adjutant. Follow up with them. Remember that our brothers in Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, and Texas as well, because while that storm right now is hooking towards Florida, it could always hook back towards anywhere. Remember to donate to the SCV Relief Fund if you are so inclined. Friends of the museum, friends of the SCV, friends of Elm Springs, all ways that you can help support the cause. Don't let genealogy be the thing that stops you from supporting what you know is right. Remember that we have Moose back on Look Around the Confederation next Thursday, or this upcoming Thursday. I have no idea who he's talking to or what he's talking about. So yeah, that'll be fun. So stay tuned to SCV Chat for that. Adam, you've got some type of hissing in your background, so we're going to mute you really quickly. It's probably the ghost there at your 1840s house that you live in. Or it's Kayla coming to hurt him. One of the two. Guys, remember to like, comment, and share. Follow our Facebook page. Like our Facebook page. We're doing some great things. We've got some great things planned up in the future. If you are not on SCV Chat's website, go sign up for it. And oh, I forgot something. This is a chance for y'all to, if you are on the SCV website or SCV Chat website, to see if you were paying attention. We actually talked about having a trivia question tonight. So tonight's trivia question, I didn't even load it into the chat. The Confederate trenches at Fredericksburg stretched to what length? And for those that are still watching, I'll give y'all a chance to comment on that. At Fredericksburg, how long were the Confederate entrenchments?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. Was it several miles?
It was several miles, according to this website.
And I am sitting outside on my porch. We've actually having a night in the 70s, and it's so nice to be able to sit outside again. So you're hearing bugs in the background.
Is that where y'all listen to disco and wear wide collared shirts? Yes, Chuck. Total distance from the start to the end. Total distance of the entrenchments, not the whole line, but just the entrenchments. I didn't set it. I didn't set a timer.
No. I'm gonna put my guess in at 10 miles.
We've got somebody with 10. We got somebody with 4. We got somebody with 11. We got somebody with 7. And of course, if I am wrong, which I have been known to be wrong every once in a while, send me your documentation. All right. So, kilometers? Really, Chuck? All right. According to this, it says at Fredericksburg, Virginia, in 1862, the Confederate trenches stretched for a distance of 7 miles. The troop density was 11,000 per mile, or 6 men to the yard. If I'm wrong, send me documentation showing that I'm wrong or that the website's wrong, and I'll send it to the owner of that website. But that's what I have. So 7 miles. So speak of the devil, and he shall appear.
There he is. What's up?
Matt. We were just talking about you being trapped in the haunted house a couple of years ago for an episode. Proud to see everything that y'all did up at this past weekend with or weekend, maybe it was weekend before last, with your son and everything like that. Give our love to Mary Catherine. Love you, brother. But yeah, so definitely sign up for the website if you are not signed up for the website, because we're throwing little hints about what our weekly trivia is going to be. Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure that you are sharing. Go like, tune in, all that other good stuff. In the words of the late, great Harold Philpotts, no Fumar, NL Elevator, and Redder Frog.